Walter Fawkes was a Yorkshire landowner who lived near Leeds in Wharfdale, and he spotted Turner's abilities early, and when Turner was 22, he commissioned him to do a series of watercolours of his estate.
Fawkes was an early patron, somebody who believed in his talent and who was giving him money and buying things off him, which if you're a young student just out of college is enormously exciting.
Walter Fawkes' home became almost a second home for Turner. He spent a huge amount of time there. Fawkes became really a strong patron and supporter, but also just a really good friend. It made somewhere for him to go outside of London.
Turner's career went from strength to strength, and he became one of the most celebrated artists of his era. But despite his fame, we know little about his personal life. He never married, but he may have had 2 daughters with a widow named Sarah Danby.
I hate married men. They never make any sacrifices to the arts, but are always thinking of their duties to their wives or families or some rubbish of that sort.
Later in his career, Turner started to lose the critical praise he'd become accustomed to with works such as The Fighting Temeraire, first exhibited in 1839. His paintings began to lose a focus on specific details, and his mature style, seen in Snowstorm and Rain, Steam and Speed, would instead highlight dramatic scenes of shimmering light. Critics were not impressed.
His work started off rather realistic and then became more and more expressionist, or some of them in the later years almost abstract. And of course, to many critics, this was a step backwards. They couldn't understand what he was doing.
When they were first exhibited, they were regarded absolutely as sort of strange and very, very odd by some of the critics. I mean, they were sort of really dismissed by some as saw them as far too experimental.
He took a lot of flack, and these are people who maybe supported him in his earlier career. He was incredibly well known during his lifetime and enjoyed a huge amount of success, but even some of his patrons were quite confused by what came up later.
The critics were incredibly rude.
There are some criticisms saying that they looked like lobster salad, mustard, whitewash, soap suds. So I think they were just quite bemused by these seemingly unfinished, quite mad, riotous paintings that were very different from what they're used to.
I mean, they've got wonderful kind of swirls of colour, but of course those things that were dismissed in Turner's time have later been reappraised as great masterpieces.